I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 10. Ah, yes, more All the Mods 10. And well, last episode, we basically set up our automated Hephaestus forge. We are now in the end game of this mod pack, and this is where things start to get really interesting. See, this Hephaestus forge allows us to automate the processes that we've been doing by hand over here, well, sort of by hand, with our normal tier 5 Hephaestus forge. But last episode, I was kind of caught off guard because once I set this up, I realized, there's actually 4 fluids that we need to somehow produce. And 2 of those fluids are a little bit more complicated than the others. And on top of that, well, we also needed to set up even more of these modular machines, including this right here, the Runic Crucible, which sort of acts like this right here, this crucible. So it takes this and allows us to technically automate it. But turns out that I actually need more than just one, and I think I need roughly 3 of them. And that is due to, well, a couple of things. Well, this is, right now is making a very particular type of fluid. It is currently making liquid aerial, and this is the process that it is going through right now to do that. It's getting water, and it's getting source from Ars Nouveau, and it's being mixed with the arcane crystal dust. That's producing that liquid that we need. It's being stored inside of our storage system. But over here is another fluid that we're going to need, and you can see there are technically 4. We need blood, we also need liquid souls, the aerial, and also XP. We're going to talk about these 2 later. But liquid souls is kind of next on my list, and this needed another setup for the Runic Crucible. We also need to give it souls, and there's an unrefined liquid soul that we also need to automate. And that, believe it or not, comes from Industrial Foregoing with the fluid extractors on some productive trees that we actually went through in our productive tree episode and technically got. I didn't even know I was going to need it, but we have it. Now, I know you may be wondering, Chosen, how does this have anything to do with actually making the All the Mods star? Well, we need more Modularium, and that's mainly because we are going to need to make even more machines than the actual star altar, and we're going to need enchanting devices and all kinds of other stuff. And I thought that making this would make Modularium production a bit faster. However, I have found out that, well, I need a lot of Modularium just to make the automation that allows us to make Modularium, and by the time we have this automation done, I really won't even have to worry about the Modularium anymore. Yeah, so let's get this started anyways, because it looks like this primary function is going to be kind of after the star. We are going to need all of these resources anyways, so if I want to fully automate the production of stars after we get the bee, then, well, I'm going to need this. So let me kind of explain some things that I have learned. So when I have made this Runic Crucible, I decided to go ahead and go, how can I make this easier on myself? Now, making the actual crucibles themselves is pretty time consuming, so I already have those produced. It is the same process that we made last episode, but how can I build this structure easier? And that's where I want to introduce you to the fact that our copy paste gadget can pull from our applied energistics system. So how is this going to help me? Well, these blocks are actually really easy to autocraft. So all I've done is I've just crafted a bunch of them and I have them in my storage. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to just go into my copy paste, right click this side, and raise it up to accommodate for this whole section. And I can just move it somewhere else. So for example, I want it right here. So because it can pull out of my applied energistics system, it makes this process so easy. I can just right click and bam, the entire structure is there and done, just waiting for me to make hatches. Speaking of hatches, that's the thing that kind of is going to need a lot more Modularium. And that's where I am using most of it as of right now. These structures really don't require a lot of Modularium aside from the actual block for the crucible and, well, the hatches. And like I said, hatches kind of expensive. Kind of, as the resource required to make Modularium is not the actual issue. What's the issue is you have to stand here and you have to constantly place it in. Now, I made it a little easier by having clickers that are all set to pulse mode, if you missed that last episode, which makes making Modularium a lot easier. But I still have to, from time to time, go in here, spawn some mobs with some spikes, and let that build up some blood. I also have to break one of these and tick accelerate the aerial, or these things right here, these arcane crystal obelisks, to build up the aerial. And then I've also have this constantly running, which by the way, we're going to need to upgrade our soul production for this setup here in a minute. So now that I have my crucibles up and running, and we both have an understanding of why I'm doing this in the first place, sort of, we probably should start working on our next setup. So we have this fluid automated. I think it's time now to get our soul fluid automated and start producing some liquid souls. So now, first things first, we need to technically have a soul tree sapling. And if you haven't already found one, which I do believe there are particular places you can find them, you can trade with the queen bee with a little bit of pollen, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to get this. It's a 1% chance, but there's not a lot of things the queen bee actually trades for, aside from sawdust and these saplings. So yeah, you're going to get a wide variety of saplings, but we just need a soul tree one, and I'm producing the logs. Now, the way that I'm actually producing these logs indefinitely without like any kind of special like tree farmer is, well, bees. I'm using a bee to essentially farm not only soul tree, but also the undead log, which is also netting us some blood right now. So I have the soul tree log, and what I want to do is, I think, kind of stop up my current industrial foregoing production and maybe change it up so that way it's not actually producing latex, but instead what we can produce is this soul. So I'm going to break all of these for right now, and I just need to exchange out the logs and also change up my interface here. And what we can do is we can say, hey, how about you output these logs instead? I'll pull these out and I'll go ahead and break all of these. And now what we should see is, hopefully after I pull all of this stuff out, we should be able to pull this out with a tank and go ahead and clear all of this. Let's actually change this to bucket mode. There we go. I pulled that out, that out. Is that actually clearing everything? Oh, it is. Okay. So yeah, this is just me basically pulling out all of the latex that is stored inside, and then we're getting the unrefined souls. That is perfect. That is what I want to see. So nice. Once I have a full bucket's worth of this in here, I want to pull this out and add it to my fluid storage network. And that will allow me to slap back on the interface, and we've essentially exchanged this out. And beautiful. With this setup, we can now pull, just like this, all of the material right out of here. And we now have that technically automated. So now I need to start worrying about how I'm going to fully automate the souls. Now, I've had this ugly setup over here for a while that I've been technically just farming souls and soulless sand with. But I think it might be time to actually fully automate this and get it accelerated and going a bit faster, because if you didn't know, this can be accelerated. So long as you accelerate this at its current tick rate, somehow it actually is fast enough to instantly convert this soul sand to souls, so long as you're using like these kind of settings here. And same for the clicker and also the breaker. If those are accelerated, they break and pick up much, much quicker. So we can take this and I think move it downstairs, and we can automate this much, much easier down in our industrial foregoing souls area. I think it's very fitting. We're doing souls and we have souls being pulled from our warden, and it's all being handled down there. So it makes total sense to move this into the souls tech area. But I love that these blocks actually retain the information in them, like all of the settings, filters, everything. So we can just up and move this about and we don't have to worry about it. So now what I'm thinking here, so that way we have room for acceleration, we can have like the advanced clicker, like right here, and we can have the block breaker right here. And we can have the placer up top that will place it right here so we can see it. And we can actually move the bounding box that this is selecting all in different places, right? So we can have this go up here, and then we can offset it. Let's see. Let's get the offset in the correct position though. There we go. Move it there, bring it up one. So now it's in that position where the soul sand is going to be. And then we can do the same thing for the other side for the actual breaker, which is already filtered, which is good. Let's move that into center, bring it up, find out what position. There we go. So now that is all set up, and this just needs the shovel inside. This needs the soul extractor. All of the settings are normal and works just fine. And then we just need to bring some applied energistics cable, and we'll go ahead and send this automatically soul sand. So I think with this, we just basically say, hey, export some soul sand. Make sure you can auto-craft soul sand on demand. And I think I'm going to put the gates like on the bottom of the clickers. So we're going to have this down here, just like so. That way these have power. This thankfully doesn't need any power. And that should start doing its operations, but I do want to start accelerating this, and we're also going to need a way to pick these souls up. Now, the only thing I want is technically the souls, so I'm going to set up an item collector here that is going to be under an allow list, and I only want to allow soulless sand to enter into this area. So that means I do need to change its bounding box a little bit. And I think that is probably good enough. Maybe go down. So that way we're collecting just that sand, and that gets deposited into a trash can and gets voided. So when I toss this out, perfect. Now the only thing left is our souls, and I think what I want to do is copy the same settings here, drop it down, and use an interface. And we can just have it automatically input the items into an interface. So just like that, and this one also will be whitelist saying, hey, I only want to collect souls, so we don't accidentally start picking up random stuff that is around. And of course, the fun part is setting up our souls to accelerate this. So I'm thinking just like that, we can go ahead and combine these in. And this is probably going to be fast enough. You can see that that is producing one soul pretty quick. And I don't think I have to worry about it too much. This seems to be more than fine. For now, though, we'll see. Now, just like when setting up our big runic altar automation multi-block, we do have to worry about our hatches here. So we do need very specific hatches for this. So our unrefined, we're getting in 500 millibuckets. So a tiny version hatch is going to be more than enough. But for our source now, well, it's going to require a bigger source hatch. So I had to go up to one that can store at least 4,000 source in it. As far as the input and output, this just requires one slot, so it's not a big deal. And the output is also more than enough. So just like our other setups, I like to have the output on the left, the item input on the right, or sorry, on the left, and the output on the right. And then in the back, I'm just going to place in my source hatch right here, and also our tiny item input. Actually, we should have had a fluid. Yeah, this was the fluid. They look exactly the same, so it's really hard to kind of know which one without looking. So tiny item is the one that needs to go here. Fluid needs to go here. Perfect. And then I just need to basically bring my applied energistic system up underneath here, which we should already have access to. Yeah. And for our item input, it will be souls going in just like that. This is going to be our source. Remember that you can get source by just looking at the source that's stored inside of your inventory. So you can take this and of course hit A on it. It's going to turn it into a wrapped generic stack, but that is something that allows you to easily pull it over. I think you might even be able to use like a source jar potentially to right click in here. I don't fully know that. But over here, we are going to need unrefined souls, and we need to drag that into this fluid hatch. So now we have unrefined souls, we have source that's built up, and now this should be running, and you can see it's doing its process. And then right here, it's outputting this. And of course, I need to wait until we have a bucket of this so I can add it to my list. So beautiful. Now that it's added to our fluid drawer system, we can pop back out and just put an import bus right where we need it, right there, with a simple boop, and perfect. So now we're good. This is rocking and rolling, and I think now we have just about every fluid needed to send to the bottom of this. So this has those input hatches down here, and we had to make sure that we set up very specific input hatches. So these are hatches that are going to be required for certain fluids, and we got to keep that in mind whenever we set this up. So if we take a look at what this is all used for, right? We can see that the Modularium right here requires certain amounts of fluids, and we got to provide that. So the Ariel requires the 5,000 millibuckets, and then we have the souls. That's the 1,000. So Ariel and it looks like blood are the two that are going to need to go right here specifically. And I think we can go ahead and define that by taking a look here and making sure that we have all of these fluids essentially set up just like this. So over here, we can say, okay, Ariel, you go into this one, and then blood goes into this from Railcraft, which we have plenty of, by the way. So I'm hoping this should be more than enough. We'll have to definitely keep in mind how we're actually automating blood, which is through logs, by the way. And then the exporters over here, this is just going to be the fluid XP, which we have to figure out a way to get. I think we might be able to put a tap on it. We'll have to see, like onto a fluid XP from Just Dire Things node, and then the actual souls themselves. So we'll send souls here, and then I'll just go ahead and drag the fluid XP into that. And let's figure out how we're going to actually get the fluid XP. That's the only thing that is a little bit questionable. So what I'm thinking is I can go ahead and like take this XP juice that we have farming right here, and we'll grab a cable, and I can maybe put a storage bus on the bottom of this. I'm going to have to redefine the area that this is set on. So that should be fine there. And we need to pull this back into the center point That way we make sure we're collecting all of this XP still. I don't want that to overflow. And we need to bring that down to floor level. Okay, so this is now collecting. Everything is working fine. But like I said, a storage bus. So let's see if this actually pulls in a fluid type. If not, I'm going to have to figure out exactly how this works. So let's partition. Okay, and there's XP fluid. I think that's exactly what we actually need for that exporter. So if all is set up and correct, if we go ahead and connect this in, the exporters should start doing their thing and getting everything exported. There's our Ariel, there's our blood going in, there's our souls, and there's our XP fluid. And then on the back, we do have to provide some power, so a gate should be more than enough. I'm going to set this to like 3, channel 3 right here. And yeah, that is now completely filled up and ready to go. Now, the only thing missing is our tier 4 Hephaestus forge, which has to go in the center. And I did find a nice way to move this around without losing any of its internal buffer stuff, including all of the upgrades that are inside. So that way we can actually use it over here if need be for other crafts, because I think we're going to have to kind of move this setup into there. And I kind of want to also be able to use the Hephaestus forge for other recipes without needing to make, well, a new one. So let's go into cut. You have to stand back a little bit and right click to set your position, and then shift right click. And then we just simply cut. And yes, it does carry everything over, and it is beautiful. I was like really hoping this would work. I can't believe I didn't use this last episode. It would have saved me so much time. But there we go. So now our forge is moved, and it did keep everything that it currently had inside of it. Now, I'm still debating on whether or not I'm actually going to make another tier 5 Hephaestus forge, meaning it would be a total of 3 that I've made so far. I don't know. I don't know if I want to use this over here, but I would have to move my setup from here and move it into there. And I really liked this being in this position here, but I'm still iffy on it. But with that, it is now fully done. Okay, and so now we can actually get this thing up and rolling. Okay, this is where everything matters, and I want to be able to make Modularium. The best recipe for Modularium is unobtainium, diorum, and insteel ingots, and that will make 48 Modularium in this operation. And that seems to be just about everything. I mean, you can make and automate all of the prisms and stuff. Don't know if we're going to need those. Ooh, I can make the quantum injectors in here too. But I mean, there are other things that we would technically need to make inside the forge, I think. Oh, no, we can actually make all of these inside of this too. So I may not need to actually move this anywhere. This may actually work just fine. But it requires bigger hatches for other recipes. Yes, let's go ahead and try out this craft. So we place these ingredients in there. Does it automatically start? Oh, it does. Okay. So it's processing and it should have output it. Okay, it did. Perfect. I mean, that's basically automated. I mean, yeah, that's about as automated as it gets right there. And it should produce 48 more as soon as it's done. Yep, there it goes. I mean, it's a little anticlimactic, but I think it does call for some party poppers, you know, a little bit of celebration. I feel like it's kind of worth us celebrating here. Like, we automated the Hephaestus forge. That's a big thing in this pack. Now, of course, it's not fully automated until you hook in like a pattern provider. And we can do that very, very easily. So we can just use a standard pattern provider and we place that directly on here. Let's even just take this out, for example. We can place that down and we can make sure this is in blocking mode. And we don't have to worry about really anything else. We just simply have an importer that sends it back in. Make sure we have a cable and we can build patterns now that run these operations. For example, I need a little modularium. Bam, we hit that, make sure we clear out all of the fluids. We just need these items right here. And we build that pattern, place that bad boy in there, and this is technically ready to go. So if I request modularium, let's just say we request 100 of it, it's going to make sure it sends the exact amount of items. We should see this now operating and processing. It's then going to output. And then it should send another set. If I go ahead and do some acceleration cards on here, it'll make sure that it gets it out fast enough. And then as soon as it has the items in there, it's going to start processing a new set. And there's another set. And eventually we will hit the amount that we requested. And this is, yes, automated. And so what's this going to let me do? Well, it's going to let me make bigger hatches. Now that we have Modularium automated, it makes it so much easier to make these machines and also upgrade, like I said, the hatches for them. Now, I want to start working on some of the other things we are going to need, including this massive beast right here. This thing is massive, and this is going to be an auto enchanter that we're going to need to technically set up. This is how we're going to actually make one of our alloys awakened, quote unquote. And this thing is going to be called the Runic Enchanter, and it's going to require all of these items here. So I have to go through and make a few more shelves, essentially, for this to be able to work. And we also need more Modularium. Notice 60 machine casings. So I think that it might have been well worth it getting that automatic forge set up, because I would have been here for a very long time trying to get all of these set up and also making sure I had enough for the hatches. So yeah, I think in the long run, yeah, I did make a good decision by automating that first. But with that, I wanted to place it here, and I wanted it to be sort of level with this one and in line on the opposite side. But that means I needed to clear out an entire mountain. So thanks to the destruction gadget, I was able to clear out most of this area, and I just worked on clearing out most of the canopy. There's still a lot more that I have to do. This is a very interesting project right here, but I'm going to make it look as good as I possibly can. I want to make sure this is like kind of leveled out here, and I'm going to also change all of this as much as I can into some of this lush dirt and try to blend it in as much as possible. Now, I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like, this is a little bit of terraforming. I tore down an entire mountain and then just used the building gadgets to kind of place in some terrain and grass. I placed in some dirt and then, of course, filled it in so it could fill itself, and then planted some trees. I unfortunately can't figure out how to get these mushroom stems to grow. Like, I don't know. I wanted to place those in here too to kind of make it look like everything else. Ooh, I probably should also add like some spruce trees, since that's also in the mix. But there we go. So this looks a whole lot better. And right here in this particular space, which by the way is an interior space of 17 by 17, should be able to hold our next setup. So what is that next setup? Well, it's the Enchanter right here. And I looked in here and I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I did 6 and 6 plus the middle 13. So this is a 13 by 13 area, and that's going to fit perfectly within this space. Now to craft this big, massive enchanting machine, yes, that thing, well, we are going to need to upgrade our hatches on our machine. And like I said, this is all about upgrading hatches apparently. So one of the things I noticed is, well, the most amount of fluid we're ever going to need of this Ariel or any of the other fluids, it seems to be like 100,000. So basically 100 buckets worth of the Ariel. And in that case, if that is the max, I might as well just upgrade them all to at least a hatch that can support that over here on our multi-block. So to be able to handle this, we would actually need to make a ludicrous fluid input hatch. And well, it's not that crazy, I don't think, to make 4 of these. I may or may not have all the resources. It looks like I do. So I'll just start that. And I'm going to basically replace those hatches that are directly underneath here. And I should be able to just take these out. I might lose the fluid whenever I break these, but honestly, it's not like I'm losing a whole lot. Probably use importers to get the stuff back, but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not super duper worried. So let me go ahead, place in these new hatches. These are all the ludicrous versions. Yeah, not the artist, but there we go. And this is going to slowly but surely start filling up. I might even add some acceleration cards. I don't know if this is going to be necessary, but it will definitely get the fluids pumping and get them storing in here. This should hold like, I think, yeah, it's 1,200 buckets, I think, or 1,000. Yeah, 1,200 buckets. Is that right? No, it actually holds 1,600 buckets, it looks like. And it looks like I'm also going to need a normal input hatch. So yeah. Oh, does this really require a copper chest? That's actually kind of funny. So yeah, a normal input hatch. There we go. And this has the 6 slots that we're going to need in order to make the Runic Enchanter right here. So all 6 slots. So a little bit of a boop here, boop there, place that in. I now have access to this. And technically can go ahead and place this in. I think I might wait because I think I want to hand place these items in to get this started. Now with all of those ingredients in, I hope I have everything. I'm just going to place this in. These are all of the required, or most of the required ingredients. I think I'm missing the Munda Beater or Munda Butter. I really don't know. I never could figure out exactly how to pronounce that, but I'm sure you're gonna let me know. But there we go. That is basically everything in, I think, that we need. And if everything is correct, it should craft. Oh, it is processing. Okay. So once done, we should get that auto import, and in our modular machinery, there it is, the Runic Enchanter. Nice. All right, so now this is where the fun probably begins. Let's start to see a render of this. Oh goodness, that's a lot going on here. Okay, and we can start to see all of the individual components, including all of the stairs that apparently make this thing up, meaning I'm going to have to adjust all of those stairs. Oh no. So now my goal is to get all of the ingredients that is required for this modular machinery, and get it all set up. All of them are listed here. It looks like we got ebony and lunar fence, but also we need these echoing sculk shelves, 17 soul touched sculk shelves, and also 8 soul touched deep shelves. We also need more of the deep shelf arcane treasures, which these do require the deep shelves, which all of this is super straightforward for me to set up because I have the infrastructure to be able to do it. I do have to change, I think, a few things every time I go into the enchanting area, which is right here. So yeah, I do have to change a few shelves, like removing like the melon shelf and stuff from time to time. But for the most part, all of those shelves should be like not too bad. I do want to add them all to my list just to make sure I have them all. So now my setup for this just basically removes the melon shelf and adds a skull, and I'm able to essentially do the infusion here. Does look like I'm going to need about 37 of these. So yeah, I've got to go through essentially doing this 37 times. Yep. And is there a way to automate this? Well, I think like the way we're actually doing it right now, we could, but we have to have the Runic Enchanter to be able to do it. And you can see right here that we need this for the Runic Enchanter. So no. And with that, I think I got all of the shelves needed, all of them set up here and ready to go. Now, there's still some other things that we're going to have to make and also find. Ebony fence, for example. I have to go get ebony wood, and we also need lunar fence, meaning we're going to need lunar wood from the Eternal Starlight Dimension. I think I have most of those things. I don't think I have ebony wood. Ebony wood is one of the things we'll have to go find a biome for. And then the Eternal... I don't think I grabbed any. Oh, I do have lunar saplings. Okay, so I can actually grow these. And we can just place them right over here. Give them some bone meal, see what they do. And I guess go from there, right? We only need enough for a couple of fence. Aha. That is a pretty tree, I will say that. Oh, those are the leaves that we're actually using in our base. Oh, yeah. It's just been a hot minute since I've been in this dimension. Okay, there we go. And is that going to be more than enough? Yeah, there's the wood. We only need a few fences here, so it's not going to be too bad. Actually, I'm just going to take the sticks that I got from the leaves. There we go. And that should be more than enough lunar fences for what we're going to be working on. Now, for the ebony, this will do biomes plenty, or just actually ebony. I think there's just an ebony woods. So about, 1,000 blocks away. I'm on an adventure again, off to the woods to find some ebony twigs. Ooh, and this place is kind of pretty, actually. It's kind of like a dark forest, like a modified dark forest. Ooh, with these nice, super dark ebony logs. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. And beautiful. Now we have our ebony fence all ready to go, and we're almost there, I think. Now, just when I thought I had everything I needed, the firebox. Oh man, this one caught me off guard, but we are going to get through it. Now, to make the firebox, we're going to need, I believe, 4 of them. Thankfully, we do get 4 of them. It does cost some netherite picks, but it also costs this raw firestone. Everything else seems fairly straightforward to get. Also, the heat pipe's very easy. But the firestone, this requires us to make a crusher from Railcraft Reborn, and we need to make this crusher using a few of these components. For example, like this charged motor, which means we need charged coils. To break that down even further, we need small charged wire spools. To be able to make those, we need a metal rolling mill, essentially. And this is actually fairly simple to craft, it looks like. So I shouldn't be too worried about this. We can go ahead and literally request everything here for this, making sure we have it all. And there is a rolling mill. Now, apparently we just put copper in here. So I think we can use copper blocks as well. We just place that in and it's crafting. Now, yes, this is something that's unfortunate with this particular setup. If you leave the GUI, it goes away, which is not very good. But it does look like we can get these small by downcrafting these large spools. So while we're in this menu, I can take these out and then we can craft these. and then we craft these down, and now we have 18 of those charged spools. So yes, I should be able to easily make this crusher. I just need a few of these items, and we're almost there. Now, believe it or not, Railcraft is one of those mods I've actually never really played with. So this is kind of my first time really getting to experience this mod. Maybe not in the best way possible, but I am still getting to experience it in some way. Now, I have been told through the Discord that I can time wand this beforehand, hop into the GUI, and profit. Okay, yeah, that's no problem at all. So yeah, I think we can make this. I think you only need 12 blocks in order to make this. It's a pretty interesting looking machine. Yeah, it looks like I gotta make some plates though. So now that they're all crafted up, let's go ahead and place this down. And it says right in the description kind of what it is, a 3x2x2. So I should be able to place it like this and place that on top of that. And voila, now we have a Railcraft crusher. This is also one we kind of looks like we go into the menu. Doesn't really have any other power or anything, I don't think. But now we need to find the ore that actually needs to be crushed for this casing. That comes from raw Firestone. Now, this lies in the lava beds in the nether. So we could go scouring the nether beds and find enough, or we could use, I don't know, the builder, or maybe even use I guess mechanism. Yeah, I think mechanism might be one of the better ways. And well, what I mean by mechanism is by using the digital miner. So let's pop on into the fortress, and we just probably need to find like a bed of lava somewhere. You know what? Right here seems perfectly logical. I'm gonna go ahead and slap this bad boy down, and I do need to check the config. Now, this right here is just Firestone ore. I don't know if I can add that through an item stack. I don't think that will work. Will it? Oh, it might actually. I don't know. We can give it a shot and grab a gate, slap some power on here, and let this thing rip, right? Let's go ahead and start. It's already found the ore. There we go. So we have 5 ore within that area. I think I just pick this up and just move it and try again. Now, one thing I will say is this does seem pretty rare. So this is a material you're going to have to fly all over the nether for. Like I am going vast distances to try and find this. I've gotten 10 so far. And that's with me like trying a bunch of different locations. So yeah, don't expect any miracles here. I don't know how much we're going to need, but if I start this, yeah, you can see right there, I got 5. So like this is scanning a 32 area by 32, I do believe. I don't think it's in chunks. It is in blocks. And in those areas, it is only finding about 5 every time. Now, while I was collecting this Firestone, I did notice something rather trolly about it. When it's in your inventory, blocks around you just get set on fire. Yeah, that is super old school Minecraft trolly right there. So just to protect the base when we go back, I'm just going to keep you safe and cozy right there. Now, I think from the looks of it, we only need 4 of these boxes, and thankfully it makes 4. So in reality, I think we only need technically 4 ore. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't set your base on fire. Oh, it does. It definitely does. Okay, I'm going to throw it in there. Quit the burning. Is this going to work? Does it require anything special to actually grind up? I mean, according to this, it looks like it just kind of works. I don't know if there's like any kind of acceleration that can happen here, but maybe not. So this is the weirdest machine I've ever experienced, because I just placed a gate on here to give it power, because Quest it says give it power, but it doesn't say where to give it power. You just got to give it power. So you just, I guess, power it from anywhere, and it's nice and charged up. Okay, so there we go. So there's the raw Firestone. Oh gosh. Yeah, let's not burn our base down. Holy smokes, there just generates fire everywhere. It's so dangerous. I think we should definitely put that inside of our system, maybe even fly up in the air here. Holy smokes. But I think we now have everything needed to actually make that firebox. So everything should be good so long as you use the cut Firestone version. It's going to use a few smithing templates, and that should be about it. And voila. There we go. So now that is technically everything needed in order for us to get this thing up and running. Well, of course, minus the hatches. We're going to have to figure that part out, well, after the fact. So now I guess without further ado, I'll place this 2 blocks out, make sure we have this exactly where we want this. Looks good to me. Oh, that looks actually really pretty. And we should be able to use the schematic with modifiers to place everything out. Okay, it does say we are missing a few things, and I think those things that we are technically missing in here is, yeah, going to be the modular machines. It also is missing a dark stone wall. Couldn't find the wall. All right, and tried to place the Arcanus dark stone wall. So yeah, apparently we're also missing some walls somewhere, even though I thought I had them. Maybe it's the wrong ones. Aha, it needed these polished dark stone walls, not the ones that I currently had. Okay, and there we go. So now we should be left with, let's see, Modular Reborn. It looks like everything else tried to place in the Skulk Shelf and it couldn't. I mean, I thought we had everything. There's the Echoing Deep Shelf. Apparently I made the wrong shelves, I think. That's probably easy to mess up. We'll confirm that. Okay, those are placed in right, and I'm still missing a few other things, it looks like. So yeah, I think the only thing missing is the Quantum Injector, which these items right here should be auto-crafted. There we go. It does cost a lot, by the way, to make those things. But as soon as it's done, there we go. We should have one ready to go, ready to rock and roll. Let me go ahead and make sure to put this back. And let's see, Quantum... There it is, Quantum Injector. Yep, it crafted it up just fine. So now I can go ahead and apply this, and I think this is the actual last thing needed. Perfect, that placed that right in. The only thing left is to actually place in these 4 individual hatches. So I just crafted up some more hatches now that I have this set up, and we just need to get those hatches placed in, right? So I'm thinking we'll have the input and output. The front can be the input. So small input, it's got 4 slots. We place that there. And then we will do a source hatch where we're going to have source. We can have the source going in over here. And then over here, we're going to have a big fluid hatch. And the back will just be the output. So this is where the items will be output. And once done, this whole thing is technically now complete. I also fixed the stairs and fixed the lanterns being attached. Looks good. And then the last thing, it says right here, no matching, but it says Runic Enchanter, meaning everything is now complete with that massive multi-block. Now I will say though, I think I was a little bit confused by some of the recipes. And I thought that the Awakened needed to be done inside of the Enchanter because of this enchanted book. I was completely wrong though, but I am definitely not wrong in making this. We still need this setup. However, this is done inside of the star altar, so we'll have to get this done before we actually make the star, and it'll be done inside there. Thankfully though, we have this enchanting setup, which means that we can actually make these books rather easy. Like we just need to set up a pattern with our applied energistic system that can just craft these books. We'll have to turn off our auto enchant to depositor though, but outside of that, looks like it'll work really good. These books are rather easy to make. I did make sure that we have enough source that can cover everything. So I think this is more than worth it. Also, what it's going to allow us to do is automate infuse Dragon's Breath. And this is probably one of the biggest consumers of source and also XP fluid. So that's what I based my hatches off of. So just kind of putting it in perspective of how I was thinking about putting together all of this stuff. But infused Dragon's Breath is something that is going to be required down the road to make the infused Patrick Star if we want to do star automation fully. And so yeah, it is definitely required here. This also now gives me the ability to craft just about any enchanted book just on the fly. Now this might end up looking kind of weird, but I'm thinking we put AE up here, considering our hatches are down here, and we can run our cables along this and hopefully not ruin the way it looks. So there's only a few things left to do. I've got to get the source going in. So we'll put that source in here. That should fill up the big source hatch. There it goes, already filled, beautiful. And then we need our experience. So XP fluid, that is right there. Drag that in. Nice. And then I think right here, what I'm going to do is put a pattern provider. And that way we can technically automate things. So that is what is going to be placed right there. Make sure that is set to blocking mode. We're definitely going to need that with the way this is set up. And this is what it looks like. I hope this isn't too ugly adding the cables, but honestly, yeah, I tried to like extend them down spiderweb style to try and match everything else, but this is technically ready to go. And honestly, I think our first thing we should do is the infused Dragon's Breath. Like this is something that we should have set up. I want to make sure that everything is clear. We're just simply sending 1 Dragon's Breath in and we're getting 3 out. So with that inscribed, we can place that inside of here and let's fingers crossed that all of this functions. It looks like this is filled. That is full. That is full. Okay. So that should work. And this is something that is not normally able to be automated. So let's just say like 10, for example. That should send one into the buffer. And it should hopefully start, assuming that my device is online. Everything is set up correctly. And it's working, question mark? Yeah, it would probably work if this was actually a input and not an output. I literally have 2 item outputs right here. One of them has to be an input, goof. Okay, there we go. So I did figure this out. All right, so now Dragon's Breath infused. Let's request 10. Now that should go in there. This should start to kick off. It's crafting, it's doing its processing, and there we go. Yeah, we just got one. And before we know it, this is going to finish its craft of 10 of them. And I can breathe easy knowing that I have this set up. Now, at this point, we have Modularium done. We have the ability to make any enchanted book we want, and we are so much closer now to being able to fully automate the All the Mod Star and also make the bee for it. This is going to be pretty close to being finished, I think. We are getting there. I think next episode, we're definitely going to make our final structure, because at this point, we have technically made all of them, well, except for the ones that are available for mechanism, which we really don't need. But in this case, we should be able to make the star altar, hopefully, next episode. I am pretty excited about this. We have all of the other stuff prepped up. We now just finished our Dragon's Breath. We have the ability to make them, to make the potions, and we'll have to work on making these alloy blocks and finishing those up, which shouldn't take very long considering all of this stuff we have automated. It's going to be a breeze, I think. So now, if you enjoy videos like these and you use them as a resource to help you guide you through mod packs, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and well, give this video a huge thumbs up. These episodes do take a tremendous amount of time, believe it or not, to record. So, I mean, that's the least you can do is by clicking that subscribe button. And well, if you have clicked that subscribe button, be sure to also check out the Discord, discord.gg/ChosenArchitect. You can find it linked down in the description below. We have an amazing community, and I would love for you guys to join. And speaking of the Discord, it is now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. That amazing thanks is going to go out to Master Centauri. Thank you so much, by the way, for your amazing support, choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible, and absolutely going above and beyond. You absolute boss. Thank you so very much. And of course, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I can't say it enough. Thanks for watching.